Texans post-week recap, week 4 edition. Should we be thinking more than division round here? Let's go inside the locker room. We'll hear from DeMeco Ryans as well.
Yeah, it's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital.
Welcome to the locker room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app. Texans 2-2. They got company. The entire AFC South is 2-2. We always start off the post-week recap looking at the overall state of the NFL. And 4 weeks in, you have 2 teams that are 4-0, San Francisco and Philly. You have 8 teams that are 3-1, 12 teams that are 2-2. 4 of those are in the AFC South. 8 teams that are 1-3 and 2 teams that are 0-4. Chicago, if the draft were today, would have the top 2 picks. So good on them for the trade that they made. Be sure to subscribe, like, ride along. It is the locker room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. We'll hear from DeMeco Ryans in a sec. We're also going to answer some of the questions and kind of look at the things that matter the most and the things that might be the hardest to maintain and things that might be the easiest to maintain for the Texans. But I want to just look at the AFC South as a whole. If I asked you right now, who is the best team in the AFC South? Who's the favorite to win the AFC South? I think if I asked 50 people, we'd definitely get 4 different answers, and we would get different reasons for each of the answers. I think right now, the one advantage that the Texans have over all but 2 teams in the AFC, or probably all but 2 teams in the AFC South, or maybe 1. I don't know. They have the unquestioned quarterback. I don't think even Colts fans will say that this Anthony Richardson stuff is sustainable. He's getting banged up every game. He kind of comes across as a guy that's going to be easier to figure out as time goes on. So I would say they have the advantage over him. If I asked you, would you rather have right now, and we're not thinking long-term, CJ Stroud or Trevor Lawrence, who would you say? I asked this today on the show, In the Loop, Sports Radio 610, and there was some really emphatic CJ Stroud over Trevor Lawrence comments. But both of the people that I work with, Figgy and Lopez, they said they would take CJ over Trevor Lawrence. And the thing is, look, I don't want to get ahead of myself with the CJ Stroud thing, but I'm going to put out this video tomorrow. I'll probably do it before the show, 9:00. Like what we're talking about with CJ Stroud right now in these first 4 weeks, it's going to be difficult to maintain because he's playing at such a high level, but what he's doing right now, what CJ Stroud is doing right now is it's not just rookie historic, it's all-time NFL quarterback historic. There's one stat, and again, this will be out tomorrow at 9. I'm going through CJ Stroud's money quotes. I'm trying to lay this out for tomorrow, but there's something CJ Stroud has done that only Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes, and Aaron Rodgers have done before. And when you start talking about that, yeah, it's early. It's definitely early. I know that's typically something that we hear in baseball, but when you start talking about that, I mean, that's when you really got to raise the eyebrows and say, just how good is this guy? Other thing is, I think Bobby Slowick right now seems to have a better sense of offensive football than Doug Peterson. So when we look at where CJ Stroud is right now, there's a lot of people saying CJ. Now this is a Texans chat, so maybe that has something to do with it, but the quarterback advantage is something the Texans are going to have more often than we're used to. They're definitely going to have it this week in Atlanta. They definitely had it against Pittsburgh. And we're just going to see what happens. I think the Texans have as good of a chance as anyone of winning the AFC South. I'm not dismissing Tennessee. I see some people in the comments are dismissing Tennessee. I'm not dismissing Tennessee. Mike Vrabel teams are going to scratch and call, and if Derrick Henry's running the rock, Tennessee can compete with any team in the AFC South on any given Sunday. Now, there's going to be times where they wet the bed on offense, but there's also going to be times where, they beat the hell out of Cincinnati and they beat the Chargers. So they always have a pretty good chance. Let's hear from DeMeco Ryans, and then we'll get into the questions, and we'll put a bow on this this week 4, post-week 4 outlook in the locker room. If you missed the post-game show yesterday, be sure to check that out. Here's DeMeco Ryans live on Reaction Monday.
Yeah, with the guys, with Titus, with Juice, we'll see what happens throughout the week, right? Nothing's set in stone. We'll just see where that happens, what happens throughout the week with those guys.
DeMeco, is Jared Patterson played well to be a candidate when Juice comes back to start at left guard?
Jared has done a good job with what we've asked him to do. Thought he's done a really good job of stepping in at center, where he's played primarily guard throughout most of the training camps. For him, stepping in, playing a new position, and a very important position for us. He's done a really nice job for us, and he's improved each week. So very pleased with where Jared is.
How do you describe what Bobby Slowick and the offense as a whole has done to protect Stroud? No sacks last 2 weeks. How do you describe what they've done?
Yeah, Bobby has done a great job of scheming. I think understanding, right, the players and what can they do well, understanding how we need to protect. He's done a really good job of designing plays to help us in that regard, and just overall, I think everybody's just bought in and everybody's doing what's asked of them, and they see when they do what's asked of them, we can make plays, right? And the biggest thing for us is just after the first couple of weeks is just making sure we protect the quarterback and we understand the type of plays that CJ can make when he has time. So that was the main emphasis for us. Bobby and the staff has done a great job of attacking that head on and putting them in great position to make plays.
To follow on that, like when you guys go into the room to try and figure out the problems, the answers to those problems, are there things through, I don't know, the plug and play with offensive linemen that you feel like you've learned about your offense through that problem solving?
The main thing with our offensive line and with everybody on our entire team is just, hey, the main theme that I hear from our coaches, and we say it every week, hey, we'll make it work, right? So whatever we've been faced with, right, again, it's no excuses, no explanations. We'll make it work. It really doesn't matter, right? We got a game to play. Whoever we have available, we'll make it work. And that goes again this week for us. He did good with the play in practice as well. It takes time. The guy doesn't throw the ball much, right? So there's it's a lot of anxiety there. When you're in that position and asking a running back to throw the ball, it starts first as a play caller for Bobby, just having trust in Motor to be able to, deliver the throw, and Motor having trust, right, in Dalton to make the catch. So it's really great execution on all levels, coaching and players, and very nice play call at the proper time.
I thought it was cool how Slowick set that play up too. You could tell he was running with Singletary, just kind of set it up. Still got to see CJ throw one to Dalton Schultz though. Got to see that. We saw him hit him on the seam. Got to see CJ throw one to him.
CJ throw from when he first got here to now?
I think just with CJ and the growth and what I've seen most is just how he's continued to get better throughout the week. Anything we asked him, right, or pointed out to him as a point of emphasis, right, he's took it to heart, and he's shown those improvements the next week in the game. And that's That's big time for a quarterback, for any position, right? When you can take the corrections from the meeting rooms to the field, practice field, and then take that to the game, right? Some guys, it takes a little bit more time, but for CJ, he's doing it on a week-to-week basis and making those changes, and he's very dialed in with the preparation and what we're asking him to do. So it's impressive to see a young guy make those adjustments, right, from week to week, and it's just a credit to CJ and what he's done throughout his career, even at Ohio State, right? You saw improvement, I always said, from game one to his final game, and you're seeing that week in and week out for us throughout the season.
When we talk about quarterback, follow up, a quarterback, obviously, when you pick someone that high, they're certainly talented, but you sometimes have to watch them play a little or watch them interact to see the, like, intangibles, if they're really, like, a leader, someone that the guys can get behind. Is that something that you kind of have to see in time?
I don't have to see. CJ is who he is, man. He has the intangibles in college. Right? His teammates spoke very highly of him throughout the interview process. Coaches spoke highly of him, and that hasn't changed. Right? He was a great teammate in college. He's been a great teammate since he's been here with us. He's a leader.
Dude, you could not anticipate this type of intangibles. I don't care what DeMeco says. I don't care how much you say you liked him and all that. Like, they have elevated from Ohio State to here, and they've never been questioned. Like, the charisma's been there, but let's be serious. This is next level. Like, even just the willingness to go out there and stick your chest out and be like the face of a franchise this early on. When they were very, very patient with you and they didn't really force you to do any of that stuff. They didn't even put you to the podium. Nah, this is not what you expected. I can promise you that.
At Ohio State, and he's been a leader since he's been here with us. So it just goes to show, guys, they don't change much from who they are in college, and that's been proven with CJ as well.
You guys right now are 2-2, tied for a tie in the AFC South. How do you guys feel each other about overall standing? What do you guys have to do going forward to eventually take over the division?
Yeah, with the standings, we really don't care. It doesn't come to mind to me when you talk about the standings, right? It's just literally one game at a time, 1 week at a time, right? How are we improving throughout the week? That's our main focus, right? And the outcomes of where the season, where we'll end up, it'll take care of itself if we continue to focus on our preparation.
You were a rookie when Kubiak was a rookie, so you can speak from experience. How important is it to get the message to the players in practice, off the field, but to actually win, to get them to buy what you're selling on a daily basis?
Yeah, it's important, right, when you focus on things and you harp and you coach as hard as you can, right, on a style of play or how things should be done, right? And it takes time for guys to buy in, right, to how we want to prepare throughout the week, right, and for them to see the results and for them to see success from what we've been asking them to do is huge for us, right? And that just gets our players to truly listen to us more, buy in more to what we're asking them to do because, at the end of the day, it works, right? We know what winning football looks like, know what winning culture looks like, and guys just continue to buy in, continue to do what we're asking them to do, and the wins, everything will take care of themselves.
As a former player now head coach, is there wiggle room for some of these players to be able to go off script a little bit? Let's just say, if CJ's on the field, he sees something a little bit different from what the plays call it.
Wiggle room to go off script.
Steven has been consistent. I mean, when he came back for training camp, Steven has been consistent. He's been a leader every day. His preparation throughout the week, as I just highlighted to our guys, is Steven, he studies, right? Studies very hard, right? And throughout the week, if there's a route.
Been balling out. Got to give Steven Nelson his flowers. We will tomorrow on In the Loop Sports Radio 610. But, yeah, he's been the best corner since the start of camp. It's a hell of a play the other day.
That he knows is coming. He's going to step in. He's going to make the play, and it shows in games. He's prepared. He understands, all right? He understands splits, alignments. He understands route concepts, and he's able to jump plays and make plays on the ball just because of his mental game, right? And he's a very sharp player. Excited to have him. Excited to see his growth so far throughout the year.
Hey, DeMeco, can you talk about 4 games in, kind of a quarter of the season, what you've seen in terms of, okay, as you're taking it week by week, you're never where you want to be, but what the growth has been with this team and what you
Yeah, the cool part about our team is from where we started week 1 to where we are now. I mean, there's been major growth. And that's what I'm most encouraged about is the growth that I've seen over the first 4 weeks and knowing that we have even more, right, to grow and learn from. Right? You have to, I think the first 2 weeks, figuring out how to learn, figuring out, how to win in this league. And you have to learn how to win. And took some lumps there, and guys, they starting to see what it takes to win in this league. But now, as we continue to grow, it's just still honing in on the details, the fine details of our job. A lot of things that we can clean up, even from the win versus a tough opponent in Pittsburgh, right? There are a lot of things that we can clean up in all 3 phases of our game. So it's easier to clean them up after you win, but just understand there's still a lot of teaching, a lot of coaching going on with our guys.
Coach, you got a chance to, the Houston Astros made the postseason again. You got a chance to throw out the first pitch over at Minute Maid.
The main thing I take from Dusty is
Your pass rush has gotten success pretty spread across the board with some of your players. Bernard, in specific to him.
Bernard needs some love. That man is balling out.
with our pass rush, and we did a solid job this past week, but it's not where we want to be. We have to improve our pass rush and continue to get better at executing when it comes to our 4 guys rushing together. So we're not where we need to be there just yet, and we'll continue to coach them and get them better.
What is it that is missing?
It's execution.
Last 2 Aaron job.
You look at some of the interior defensive line play, sometimes a few weeks into the season, it starts clicking more than
Progress throughout the year, but that's the most growth better and play their best. And yeah, we've had success in the past with those guys, and hopefully we can have success here, with our young guys. But I've been pleased with our young guys, and I mean Henry, Christian, Petrie, just to see the growth of those guys. It's fun to coach these guys because they first and foremost they love football and they want to get better. So for me, that's all I need. Guys that listen, guys that want to get better, and I'm all in and helping these guys as much as I can. All right, thank you guys.
All in helping those guys. And I think the return of the safeties is pretty crucial. We saw the blitz dialed up with Petrie yesterday, the run blitz that led before the Grenard 4th and 1. They had to throw the long play to Pickens. I think having these safeties back goes a long way for DeMeco, and he's been able to dial up. I anticipate the defense getting better just because that's kind of what he does, and he's going to get, he's going to have the guys that are the most important in the middle right there communicating. I expect the defense to get better. If we were talking, and it is the Texans post-week outlook, we do this after Monday Night Football here in the locker room, #1 source for Texans daily digital content. Subscribe, like, right along. Texans are right in the mix in the AFC South. I mean, even if you're a pessimist, like they're in the mix. Like there's nobody that is going to run away with this division. We've seen a lot of teams, go from the bottom of leagues to better. So like at the top, from Philadelphia a couple years ago to the Giants last year, competing for playoff spots, we see it. And really we're a quarter through, but there's no reason to believe that they can't at least be in the mix. They're going to have the 4-game NFC South stretch here. They can go 2-2 in that and still be in that 500 range. All bets would be off. If we were to ask, what are the strengths of this squad 4 weeks in, I think it would be kind of easy to answer that question. I think number 1 will be quarterback. Your quarterback's playing at a historic level, not just for a rookie. He's playing at a historic level. Now, does that start to come down as time goes on? I think usually you would say yes, but in this situation, given the fact that he hasn't had his 2 starting tackles and his offensive line has been depleted and it's early in the process and you're facing some pretty good defenses early on. I mean, I don't want to sit here and say that you maintain this level of play all the way throughout a season, or you're talking about an MVP candidate. But with all that said, the intangibles are just through the roof with CJ Stroud. Again, I'm going to do a video on that tomorrow at 9. I'm going to try to get that out before the show, which is at 9 Central. And the offensive line, the situation hasn't been perfect. And the other thing is, one of his weaknesses, or something that was supposed to be a weakness of his, is actually a strength. And that's the way in which he feels stuff. That's the way in which he uses his legs. And he admittedly said that that was a weakness at Ohio State, and he's turned it into a strength. And I just don't know how it gets worse, especially assuming that you're going to be more healthy. I don't know how it gets worse. So the quarterback position right now, 4 weeks in, if we're just judging that, and that's what we're doing here, it's a strength. Offensive coordinator, I think that's a strength. I think you might be able to make a case, and this is a crazy question that we're asking given the dialogue. Are the receivers a strength? And, Dalton Schultz, before last game, he was kind of MIA. When the tackles get back, when you have Laramie Tunsil, when you have Titus Howard, does that open stuff up for Dalton Schultz? Does it open stuff up for Dameon Pierce? And the receivers, we're already seeing them produce at a decent level. Does this continue to groom? Does John Mechie kind of find his role? He's a willing blocker. I saw Texans Cap talking about this. You get kind of a little slot threat in John Mechie as well with what you've got from Tank Dell and Nico Collins, which the last 3 weeks has just been a rotation of Nico has a great game, Tank has a great game, Nico has a great game. So are the receivers a strength? I think 4 weeks in, I think it's a question worth addressing. And you don't really know where it's going to go. The ball is being spread out pretty legitimately. But to answer that, the strengths, I think unequivocally, you have quarterback, offensive coordinator. You can make a case at receiver. I actually think that the defense, while not great, I think the arrow is pointing up on the defense. I think they've done a really good job with the ends. I think the ends you could say are a strength. Will Anderson not getting as many sacks as a lot of people who just look at numbers would like to see, but he's been a solid player. Jonathan Grenard, he's taken advantage in this rotation. We've seen Jerry Hughes play well. Dylan Horton's kind of showing up a little bit. So I think you could say that the ends are a strength, and I think safeties are eventually going to be a strength. I mean, you're 2-0 with Jimmy Ward in the lineup. You're 1-0 with your starting safeties. So I think there could be safeties if we're talking about strengths. And you get your punter back. I know that's not it's not like the sexiest thing to talk about, but watching this punter the last few weeks has absolutely sucked. It's made me appreciate Cam Johnson. He's back. We don't know what's going to happen with the offensive lineman, but Cam Johnson officially back. And the offensive lineman TBD, although Laramie Tunsil and Titus Howard were talking on Twitter about how fun it's going to be next week. What are the weaknesses? That would be a question to ask. And look, the team's obviously flawed. I'm not going to sit here and say that this team is a top tier AFC team with Kansas City, Buffalo, Miami still, even though they're coming off the loss, Baltimore. I'm not going to put them in that category, but I will say the weaknesses that you would say that they have right now. And I would say, they're still not stopping the run. They're still not running the ball as well as they'd like. They're 19th in the league against the run. And they're 26th at running the rock. But am I really supposed to sit here and expect them to be able to run the ball right now effectively? I actually think Dameon Pierce is doing things that only Dameon Pierce can do, and that he's equipped to do. I'm not going to look at the yardage and say, he didn't have 100 yards. Like, these have been hard-earned yards for Dameon Pierce. And do those get better when the offensive line comes back? I think it's really possible. Will they be able to run the ball? I would think so. Am I 100% positive? Don't know. But as long as there's like some resemblance, they've shown that they can win games with that. But as far as the weaknesses, I would say stopping the run. I think there's been signs that could be an issue. By the way, Jonathan Taylor going to practice with the Colts. It'll be interesting to see whether or not he actually plays down the stretch. But stopping the run, they're 19th. And they're 26th at running the ball. So I would say those two things. Although when you're 4th in the league in passing yards and you're 9th in the league in passing defense, it can kind of cancel out those two things. So, yeah, I mean, in the past, you've said they're in the bottom of rushing the ball and they're in the bottom of stopping the run. And then you look at them against the pass and it's still kind of meh. But 4th in the league in passing yards per game, 9th in defensive yards, 10th in total yards on offense, and then 19th on D. And you were one of the worst Ds in the league last year, and right now you're kind of in that middle. So the weaknesses would be stopping the run and running the ball. The only thing about those weaknesses is you would think as more time goes on, those weaknesses, I don't want to say they necessarily become strengths, but they kind of get fixed a little bit. So that's something to keep an eye on. To answer the question about the Texans and where they are, they're right in the mix in the AFC South. They are a middle tier AFC team right now, and they're trying to get in that second tier. We thought maybe Pittsburgh would be in that second tier. I would say you could throw Cleveland in that second tier. Like they're kind of in that mix right there, which if they continue to play like this, when at the end of the year, when we see the in the hunt thing, the Texans are in the hunt for the playoffs. So that's really where they are. Would I make more of it than that? Not really. But I think it's been as good of a start as you could possibly ask, given everything that's happened. I think CJ Stroud has kind of shown what he can be and where the potential is, and the intangibles are through the roof. This was put out there. Albert Breer said that the Texans are getting offers for Case Keenum. I'm going to end on this. Look, there's a lot of teams around the league that need quarterbacks. When you need a quarterback, a guy like Case Keenum is a good guy to have. As someone who's talked to Case, as someone who's followed Case, I just don't know. I know he wants to play because he's a competitive guy, but I don't know at this point in his life, I don't know that he needs to be playing checkers. I think he should start playing some chess. First of all, if I were the Texans, I wouldn't trade Case Keenum for a number of reasons. First of all, I wouldn't want to change anything about CJ Stroud's routine. And they insist Case Keenum's a good resource for him. I don't know if Case Keenum's even given CJ Stroud a fist bump before he goes on the field. I don't want to change that. And I damn sure don't want to change that for like a day 3 pick. So I wouldn't want to do it from that perspective. From Case Keenum's perspective, you've been in the league for a long time. You love it here. You have history here. You got a family. You got your wife and kids. He seems like someone who might want to coach. If Bobby Slowick is going to be on this trajectory, and if CJ Stroud, if what we've seen right now is going to be a sign of what CJ Stroud is going to do the next couple of years, and we know Bobby Slowick is from a pipeline that's had a lot of success, the Shanahan pipeline, then it's only a matter of time before Bobby Slowick gets a head coaching job in the NFL. I mean, it just makes sense. I mean, especially if he's going to do this and he doesn't even need an offensive line to do it and all that. I mean, he's going to start getting a lot more attention. And people are going to start connecting dots. It could be 2 years from now. It could be 3 years from now. It could be 4 years from now. Hell, it could fall apart. But if what we're seeing right now is a sign of things to come and it's sustainable, then he's not going to be here, forever. And that's what you want. So naturally, you go up the totem pole. I would think Gerard Johnson would get, promoted to offensive coordinator, and then maybe Case Keenum just naturally. As he gets closer to retirement, maybe he just naturally becomes that QB coach, and he's kind of on that same path. I think he's got to think about that. And I don't know how much Case wants to play. Hell, he got hurt just playing a half of preseason. He seems to not mind the mentor emergency quarterback situation. So from a Texans POV, I wouldn't do it. From a Case Keenum POV, I wouldn't do it either. So, and that's according to Breer, that's kind of where the Texans are at, is they don't want to trade Case Keenum either. So I cannot blame them. I don't see any reason to do that. Just kind of keep it the way that it is right now. So that's just kind of where we are. Texans, AFC South contenders. Absolutely. You bet your ass. Texans, top tier contenders in the AFC. No, but you like what you see, but they're right there in that middle and upper tier. They got Atlanta this week. The line started at 2.5. I think it's down to 1. Desmond Ridder, by the way, he is going to play. So once again, the Texans have the quarterback advantage. And once again, appreciate everyone for coming through. This has been The Locker Room on YouTube. Subscribe, like, right along. And always remember, when it comes to this Texans-ish, we are all in it together. In the loop at 10 o'clock, CJ Stroud video. I'm going to try to drop it, try to get up in the morning and drop it around 9 o'clock. Appreciate y'all for coming through.
Yeah, it's The Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways.